So apparently we're going to be going over a piece called The Enticing Sin of Empathy. Okay, we began with this. Mathematical Cabbage says, but what if Lord Dumpy did what Dittos do and became a near-perfect copy? Dumpy can't hide its Ditto face or its namesake. Chat is sharing their glee. You know, when chat loves there's Dumpy in the background. Can you see him through the projector? Jesus Christ. For those who don't know, Dumpy is the Ditto that lives in this cave. Chat named him Dumpy because apparently Nintendo 64 Ditto was given cake, and I don't know why. Anywho, the next one we have here is from Clawfor Raven. I'd imagine that Witch Suris uses cards instead of wands or stabs. Yeah, probably. Never thought of it before, but I feel it fits. You guys like magic wands and magic stabs? You know, given that we're literally about to do community night together, and we're going to literally be playing cards, this works perfectly. I can't wait for the new 2D Witch model to be done. It's going to be great. It's going to be perfect. The next one we have here is from Kane. Here is my Suris fan art if it makes it on stream. I am Bjorn Turok on Twitch. Bjorn Turok? I hope that's in reference to the N64 game, because that was an awesome series. Anywho, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, if you haven't subscribed already or checked out the Patreon, or even hit the bell notification icon, those are all things that help the channel out immensely. So please, I would implore you to do so. With all that said, let's go ahead and get right... Dumpy, get out from behind me. Back up, 2D Witch. Ivana, you didn't know that that's happening? I would show you the 2D Witch model that's being worked on, but I can't yet because that would involve me doing that in the middle of a video. And if you want to see special stuff like that, then you need to go to Twitch and watch there. Anyway, oh wow, my zoom in doesn't work very well. Hold on. Jesus, the zoom in won't work when it is a different background. Okay, cool. Now that I know that. Anywho, thank you, Staber8, for redeeming your points for an owl. Let's get into the actual content. Let's get into the enticing sin of empathy. Wow, because it's a dark screen, you're just going to be seeing Ditto in the back the whole time. That's wonderful. And awful at the same time. This is the second of 2 letters on the demonic distortion of the virtue of compassion. Read the first title, Killing Them Softly, Compassion That Warms Satan's Heart. I guess we're going to have to read the first one. We're going to have to read the first one. Jesus, that's long. Okay. Let's go ahead and read it. Let's see what it says.
My dear Mugwort, your last letter reminds me of just how far you have to go in the science of tempting. Your whimpering and excuse-making at your patient's growth in the virtue of compassion is unusually pathetic, even for you.
Wow, that... Jesus, do you have any way to sound less like a school fucking bully?
Of course, it is a setback, and of course, you'll be reprimanded for it, but as a member of my department, I expect for you to respond to these new challenges with the same courage and resilience that I would in your situation. Not that I would ever be in your situation, as I told you in my previous letters. You must be wary of any growth in sympathy in your patient, and make efforts to divert him into more fruitful pursuits. But the young never regard the wisdom of their elders, and now you are paying for your negligence.
Jesus fucking Christ. What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? What are you even talking about? You sound like an abuser.
Even as you suffer the necessary consequences, however, do not lose your head. Compassion, like all of the enemy's qualities, is corruptible. In fact, the sheer intensity of the goodness means that when corrupted, it becomes a most potent demon. It is a strong feeling, and it retains its strength even after it has been diverted from the enemy's service. This is, in fact, one of Hell's greatest triumphs, that we are able to steal the power and might of the enemy's works and turn them to better uses. Even if we are unable to injure him with his vile weapons, we may at least injure his pathetic little statues on Earth.
Okay. This sounds... What's the best way to put this? This sounds like a Saturday morning cartoon villain. Jesus Christ, that's all this is. It's a Saturday morning cartoon villain. Ignore the very obvious background change there so that I can do my zoom-ins like normal. No. Ignore that. Who wrote this? This dude named Joe Rigney. How? Okay, so... He's the president of Bethlehem College and Seminary and a teacher for desiringgod.org. He's a husband, an unfortunate father of 3, a pastor at City's Church. His most recent book is More Than a Battle, How to Experience Victory, Freedom, and Healing from Lust. He just writes on and on about this shit. This man desires God in the wrong ways. Unfortunate? I mean, he doesn't say unfortunate father. I say unfortunate father because anybody using language like this, to me, is not, those kids are not fortunate to have him as a dad. No. I'm sorry. No. Let's see what he's talking about. Let's see why.
Cannibalizing compassion, your elders labor to hide whole systems of thievery in robes of compassion. As a lesser temper, however, you must be content to corrupt compassion at the level of your individual patient. The simplest way to do so is to link compassion to another virtue, such as truth-telling. And then have the second virtue swallow it up. The enemy wants the humans to have bowels of mercy. He wants them to practically ooze with sympathy and pity, which, though guided by reason, are nonetheless animated by deep feeling and affection.
Does this guy just want people to turn off all their fucking emotions? What's the fucking context for this? Does he have anything that gives us any notes on that? Apparently he's an uncle? I don't see where the context is for this. This is just demon RP. While I'm reading through this, if any of you would like to go through this or the second one to see if maybe you can get some context for this as to what the fuck is going on, by all means.
You must instead quench the flame of feeling and substitute right thinking in its place. Teach him to regard speaking the truth in love as a redundancy, as though any true thing he said is loving, whether or not it is fitted to the occasion, and whether or not he is the proper messenger for it.
I don't like that speaking truth and love shit, because that's how you get people who are like, hey, I'm just telling you Jesus is gonna burn you in hell for being gay. Like, that's where that shit comes from.
I had a patient once who lived by the mantra, the most loving thing we can do for people is tell them the truth, and was thereby constantly immunizing others against the enemy's warnings and promises. His demeanor was so off-putting that words which might have been a great comfort to others in his family and church, and therefore a great threat to us, became a byword and a mockery. all things for good. This tactic is especially useful for statements like, God works all things together for good. We, of course, deny the truth in this. It's only blind luck that some of our greatest assaults have been foiled, as if by some deeper plan. Our efforts to wipe out the enemy's chosen family a few millennia ago prove this all too well. Whoa, what? The enemy's chosen family? The fuck does that mean? There is some deep roleplay happening here, and I don't know what it... The Flood? You think he's talking about the Flood? Maybe? Hold on. Let's do a quick thing. This is Joe Rigney. Joe. Definitely Demon RP. I'm not seeing anything for this guy on anything useful. He's got a profile on BCSMN EDU. He's got a Twitter. Let's see if maybe we can get some context for who the fuck this guy is. Let's see. Let's take a look here. You need to check out this podcast on the abolition of education with Joe Rigney. I heard James Wood give this as a message at a conference a few weeks back. Why isn't clear about the limits and distortions of winsomeness and Christian thinking about politics and evangelism? It's important not to lose sight of teleology, purpose for the sake of. He's channeling the Screw Tape letters. Is he a Christian? Because he doesn't sound like one. He probably fancies himself a very good Christian. The pleasure in God's creation, pleasure in God and God. So his Twitter seems very milquetoast. His Twitter seems very milquetoast. Like, obviously it's conservative. But I'm not seeing anything that jumps out at me. Okay. Let's continue. Let's continue this shit. I remember when Scabface made his audacious proposal in the Infernal Council. I was a young tempter then, an aide to one of Scabface's rivals. Who the fuck is Scabface? Who is Scabface? I am having an issue here. Yeah, this is an RP. This has to be an RP. This has to be an RP. I keep forgetting his name. Joe Rigney. Joe Rigney. Scabface. I see nothing. I see Scarface. I'm not seeing anything that is helping here. It looks like there aren't many things that match your search. Geeky Cast to Love, thank you for redeeming your points for an owl. But you know, I don't. This is some D&D backstory for a character. This is RP logs from an old GeoCity open world. He's trying to emulate C.S. Lewis. So the Gay Agenda, thank you for resubscribing. Well, let's see what else we got here.
His team would stoke jealousy among the 12 brothers, provoking them to kill a patriarch's favorite, using dreams that the enemy sent the favorite as a pretext. Another example of hell corrupting the enemy's works. Meanwhile, while the Holy Family was thus in turmoil, Slubgob's team would initiate a famine that would wreak havoc on the ancient world, with the aim of causing an entire company to starve. We had it all planned out, send plenty and abundance first in order to lull the idiots into a false sense of security. Humans are notorious for thinking that the present state of affairs is permanent when all of their histories demonstrate that such beliefs is absolutely ludicrous. Then, when they think the good times will never end, break all supply of bread and watch them wither away and perish.
He's apparently for real about this. Has anybody found anything interesting in reading ahead? Because, Jesus Christ.
It was simply unlucky that the favorite rose to prominence the way he did. We threw everything we had at him: discouragement, sexual temptation, slander and false accusation, being forgotten by those whom he helped and who owed him their lives and livelihoods. But he was constantly surrounded by that piercing fog of brilliance that indicates the enemy's presence. Even then, we were not worried. Plans for the famine were proceeding apace. Who could have predicted that the favorite would rise so high in the pagan court? We had the Egyptian king and his whole household well in hand. And how could we have foreseen that he would have the wisdom and wherewithal to prepare for the famine and save not only the Egyptians, but his own ungrateful family, that he would have his own persecutors in his power and simply forgive them? It was so outlandish that none of hell's prognosticators could have ever predicted it. Luck, mugwork. Dumb luck was our fall.
Okay. I feel dumb. I feel stupid. There is some story going on. There is some story here that I do not know off the top of my head. Is this a story of Joseph told from the demon's perspective? Let's see here. It has to be. It has to be. Stripping out the demon's name. This is a retelling of Joseph and the Code. Oh, fucking hell. I forgot that story. I remember the illustrations for it back when I was in PCA. It's the deep Christian lore from the demon's point of view. Drew Awesome Amazing. Thank you for the follow. 12 Brothers, Egypt, all of that. It's talking about the famine in Egypt. Yep. Okay. So wait a minute. So that's the bit of fucking RP from the demon's perspective. What else do we have here? Correction, thinly veiled. Is this going to be more stuff from the story of Joseph?
But the worst of it is that the enemy has made hay of such blind chance. He has the audacity to take credit for it, to claim all things work together for good, and that we and the jealous brothers had intended for evil. He had always intended for good, the pretense to take credit for our work, as though we were merely his puppets. What propaganda, what froth and nonsense! Nevertheless, this truth has been a great comfort to numerous of the enemy's pawns, even as we have ripped everything from them, and were it actually true, it would no doubt demoralize even our fiercest tempters.
Yeah, he's role-playing a demon. He's role-playing a demon. Isn't this the preamble to Enticing Sin of Empathy? Yes, it is. Okay, so what else can we pull from here? We can neutralize even this advantage of the enemy, render the claim all things work for the greater good into a platitude, into a trite saying that at most at home on a greeting card, and kish, let it flow easily from the lips of those who live in comfort. When a woman is weeping over the loss of her child, questioning the enemy's goodness, let him intrude with all things work together for good, and teach him to say it in such a tone of voice that communicates the obviousness of truth. Let him offer it as a correction thinly veiled as comfort. That way, when the platitude is resisted, you can nurse in him the self-pitying feeling, I was only trying to help. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so compassion that warms Satan's heart. Demonic distortion of the virtue of compassion. Your last letter, how far you've gone in the science of tempting. Okay, so he's literally... So it sounds like he's doing the abuse thing because he's pretending to be a demon. He's pretending to be a demon. Okay. Now that we know that, let's see here.
Really, Mugwort, I would have thought that a young and ambitious tempter would pay attention to the annual updates posted by the Infernal Philological Society. The fact that you had never heard the idea that empathy was a sin was enough to turn me into a centipede. Your confusion in this case, however, is somewhat understandable. I've always said you are a gullible devil. It seems the Department of Propaganda has been too successful. Even our tempters have been taken in. As a result, it falls to me to explain some of the elementary doctrines of our Father below.
Said it's worse than that. He's playing a middle management demon. Yeah, no, this is just a demon manager at fucking Costco. That's all this is. This is a demon manager at Walmart. That's what this is. He's role-playing a demon manager at Walmart. What the fuck are we reading?
When humans are suffering, they tend to make two demands that are impossible to fulfill simultaneously. On the one hand, they want people to notice the depth of their pain, how deep they are in the pit, how unique and tragic their circumstances. At the same time, they don't want to be made to feel that they really need the assistance of others. In one breath, they say, "Help me, can't you see my suffering?" And the next, they say, "How dare you act as though I needed your help?" The sufferer doesn't want to be alone and demands not to be pitied. This makes their emotional turmoil and suffering not only delicious to our taste, but also highly combustible and unpredictable.
I don't like this story. Hides behind desk. No, I've never read the Screw Tape letters. I've actually never read those. I've never read the Screw Tape letters. Hold on. I need to put that on my reading list. Because I don't hate C.S. Lewis entirely. Even if he does have Discount Lord of the Rings as his most notable work. So this is making me like demons more than God. Is this why the devil became a part-timer? The Screw Tape letters are the ones written by C.S. Lewis. Screw Tape instructs Wormwood what to do to tempt the patient. Oh, that's... Yeah, no, it's that. Screw Tape instructs Wormwood what to do to tempt the patient. The reader learns about the temptations that might keep him from being virtuous or saved. The central literary devices of the Screw Tape letters are irony and satire. You know, I've never read the Screw Tape letters. Had I read those before, this would probably make a lot more sense. So I hear his Christian theology tinged sci-fi was very imaginative. Jeez. Okay, is there anything else we can get from this? Separate truth and feeling, loves, ransoms, demands, make them steerable, tyranny of fusion. Okay. Okay. Scratch pot, Screw Tape. All right, we've solved the mystery. We solved the mystery, and now I feel kind of bad because I feel like I should have actually done a little more research going into this one. That's a my bad. That's a my problem issue. Dr. Rainbow 666, thank you for the follow. So it's just about telling a demon how to tempt better. Okay. That is infinitely more interesting whilst also being more boring than I thought it would be. Then again, I shipped the MC of Fire Force. Okay, at least yeah, we know the context now. It sounds fucked up because it was written to be fucked up. It makes sense. It makes sense. Let's see here. All right. Now that I know, I'm definitely you still have no context? The context is it's a demon in middle management telling another demon how to tempt people better. So, yeah, that's what it is. We'll read the ending of it, and that'll be it then, just so we have that. Is this somebody's creative writing blog? No.
As in many things, we must always keep in mind the enemy's goal and ours. The enemy aims to produce fellowship of sufferings, with his accursed sun at the center of it. But fellowship requires fellows. That is, it requires distinctness. Fellows say we are together, and yet I am still I, and you are still you. This is a kind of union, where one thing is united to another thing while still being itself. In fact, if the enemy is to be believed, creatures become more themselves when thus united. Of course, it is all lies. And in stoking empathy, we are simply cutting with the grain of reality. Empathy goes beyond union to the more potent and dynamic truth of fusion. The melting together of persons, so that one personality is lost in the other. Empathy demands, feel what I feel. In fact, lose yourself in my feelings. In my last letter, I told you that compassion, when untethered from patience and wisdom, becomes tyrannical and attempts to force the sufferer out of their sorrow against their will. Such impatient compassion attempts to seize the wheel of the sufferer's emotional vehicle. In the present case, the seizing happens the other way. The sufferer demands to steer the emotional car of the one trying to help them. We are happy with either. It matters not which person is exercising the tyranny, so long as there is, in the end, only one car. What we want to avoid at all costs is a caravan, that fellowship of sufferings in which the hurting, the suffering, and the afflicted are all permanently tethered to the enemy.
Okay, I get it. I understand now. It makes sense. What he is trying to say is that a demon in this particular scenario is trying to get people to either to emotionally hijack each other so that they're not going to actually properly unify in their suffering. Because the Christian idea of suffering is that suffering is a good thing to do. Suffering is good. Suffering under God is a learning experience. It teaches you all the things you need to know about Christianity. Like that's the Christian idea of suffering. And I don't agree with it. I think it's dumb. But through that lens, this makes sense. Okay. I get it now. We've gone through it. We've gone through a whole journey together. When this video goes up on YouTube, this is going to be, if people know what this is before I get into it, then they get to laugh at me being an idiot for the first 10 minutes of this. But if they're watching this and don't know what it is, they get to go on that same fucked up journey I just went on. They get to go on the same journey I just went on, discovering that no, we're not reading somebody being an abusive piece of shit. We are reading somebody literally writing fan fiction. We have accidentally tried to make content and just read fan fiction. And this is why I should never be allowed to plan my own content, despite me doing that for 5 years. A very poorly written fan fiction at that. Yep. Add up. Let me know what you've thought about me making a fool of myself. This is the problem with live content, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.